Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another indie comic review, and in this indie comic review I am going to be reviewing Boom Studios' Wynd by James Tynion and Frank Cho's through Upshot White Girls. Well, before I start, it's time to prepare for the first comic that I'll be reviewing out of these, and that is Wynd. Now, starting off with the cover, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to anything that's happening inside the story? Sure enough, it does, and as you can see there, that's actually one of the head villains that are a part of this story, who is a vampire and head of them. To which I gave this cover a 7 out of 10. Time to move into the internal art, to which I'll show you around the beginning, middle and the end. And this is some of the art around the beginning, and of course we encounter the Prince of Pipetown, Oakley and a couple of others, as well as some of the guards of the vampire, or the vampire queen. Moving into some art towards the middle, and as we jump towards the middle, we've got the character of Wynd, who has been affected by something. And as you can see, he's finally got his wings out, as he's also going up against one of the villains. Last but not least, I'll jump towards the end. And last but not least, some art towards the end. And yes, a bit of a spoiler of sorts. Definitely interesting. So, for the art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Moving into the story, if I were to recommend any story apart from this, I'd get you to check out Department of Truth. That's also being done by James Tynion. In fact, I find I enjoy a little bit more than this right now. But I must admit, this story has been somewhat interesting. It's had some times where it's slipped quite a lot, but it's also had some times where it slowly crept back up. So jumping into the very things that I enjoy seeing in my stories, did it have any comic references to any previous comics? No, but it needs to include it. In regards to time as to when it takes place, no, but it wouldn't hurt if it included it. Location, it could work a little bit more, especially in the area of location, because you do get lost in this story, especially when you don't know where everyone is. Even though, yes, we do know it takes place in a somewhat of a forest. The cast of characters being the Prince, Wynd, of course Oakley, who you saw near the end trying to break up the little kiss. We also had Lord Nero, General Zedera, and last but not least, Bastion. And there was another villain towards the end of the book, but I didn't get to show you that. For the overall story, even though it was meant to be moving towards the end of like this one's of this particular arc, it really needed a lot of cleaning up and a lot of work. Even though you did get to see Wynd do some fighting towards the end, and in some essence get to kiss his own Prince Charming in regards to the spoiler. Apart from that, the story was average. I wouldn't say above average, though I'd like it to be above average. But one thing I did like that James Tynion did is that he took some of the time to develop the relationship between Wynd and also the prince in the story, to develop the story organically, and I feel that has worked better in this story than something being forced in. And it's good to see that. It's nice to see something organically developed in a story than something thrusted in and it's sort of like, what the fuck was that for? It feels unneeded in the story. So for the story rating, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. Now it's time to jump to Fight Girls. Well, now the fight continues with Fight Girls issue 3 of 5. 10 challenges, or 10 women, 4 challenges, and 1 crown. And of course, the winner will rule the empire, to which this is covering. And starting off with the cover, does it in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside of the story? Well, sure enough, it does. And this is why I gave the cover a rating of 8 out of 10. And you'll get to see the reason why when I show you the internal art. Yes, we do get to see some of these monsters that make an appearance. And yes, we also get to see the character number 4 make some advances through the story. And that's why I gave it an 8 out of 10. Time to move into the internal art. Now this is some of the art around the beginning. I will show a little bit more art around the beginning as well. But this is the present contestants who are still alive. Of course, the location of Grace Point 1, the floating city capital. And they're moving to the next location. Of course, we have a little bit more art around the beginning, to which this moves into the next part of the challenge. And that is one very big, wide open sea. But what's in it? I'll now jump towards the middle. And as we jump towards the middle, Jaws has come out to play. Absolutely love this art. And last but not least, some of the art towards the back of the story. And this is something that's being covered behind the scenes. Now, one of these people was actually going to investigate somebody. And we also learn someone's name in regards to a reporter that was actually in the previous issue. So for the internal art, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because this thing has been consistent in each and every issue so far. Jumping into the story rating, starting off with first things first, did we get any comic references? Not really. We didn't get any references in regards to time of day, but I'm not too worried about that. We, of course, had Grace Point 1. We also had another place, and of course the ocean. Califax, which is a part of the location. And the cast of characters. Now, I can't give away how many people lost their lives. You'll have to go pick it up yourself to check it out. We had Jaka, Kendra, Rach, Tora, Pando, and of course Stephen Merge, as we saw before. In this issue, the risks really get taken high, and I mean taken really high. Like, being dumped in the middle of the ocean, you got no idea what the F is in there, and I mean no idea at all. And you're expected to reach a point, and something happens to one of the participants. I'm not going to say what. And because of what happens to the participant, they have to pull out the rule books and work out, okay, what do we do here? Seeing that they didn't make it to the platform and somehow they managed to do something, and they're wondering, okay, does this person stay or does this person go? And you're getting to see the condition of the person. I'm not saying what happened or who they are, but it's nice to see something happen in the world to which even the rules must be somewhat questioned in regards to an event. For this, I gave the story 8 out of 10. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.